10 most isolated towns in the UK. The United Kingdom may look small on a map, but travel a little farther from the cities, and suddenly the world feels wide again. Hidden between mountains, lakes, islands, and vast stretches of countryside are places where life moves slowly, the roads stretch endlessly, and the nearest big town feels a lifetime away. These are the 10 most isolated towns in the UK, real communities that sit far from major transport links and deep inside rugged landscapes. If you're curious about remote UK towns, hidden UK towns, or places where silence still rules, this list will surprise you. 10. Berwick-upon-Tweed, England. Berwick-upon-Tweed is one of those places that appears on a map and makes you wonder, how far north does England go? The answer becomes clear when you realise this town sits right on the Scottish border, surrounded by miles of open countryside and positioned far from major English cities like Newcastle or Leeds. Despite having a rail station, Berwick still feels like the gateway to a quieter world, with long stretches of rural roads in every direction. For travellers searching remote UK towns or towns far from cities, Berwick pops up frequently. Its distance from the main population centres makes everyday travel longer, slower, and more deliberate. The surrounding landscape, gentle hills, farmland, and coastal views, adds to the sense that you've left the bustling core of England far behind. While not as remote as island towns, Berwick earns its spot for being one of the most physically distant and northerly towns in the entire country. 9. Bala, Gwynedd, Wales. Set deep inside Snowdonia's mountainous heart, Bala looks like something from a postcard. A long lake, hills rolling into the distance, narrow stone streets, and traditional Welsh charm everywhere you turn. But that beauty comes at a price: isolation. Bala is surrounded by rugged peaks and long winding roads that twist through the national park before connecting you to any major Welsh city. Cardiff? Hours away? Swansea? Also far. Even Bangor requires a scenic but slow journey. People searching for isolated places in Wales, hidden UK towns, or simply remote living often stumble upon Bala. Its setting beside Llyn Tegid, the largest natural lake in Wales, makes it feel like a world apart. The town is beautiful, peaceful, and deeply atmospheric, but it's not somewhere you pop into without planning. Whether the roads are misty, narrow, or snowy, reaching Bala always feels like an adventure in itself. 8. Enniskillen, County Fermanagh, Northern Ireland. Enniskillen is unique because it's a town on an island, literally. It sits between Upper and Lower Lough Erne, linked by bridges yet surrounded by water whichever direction you choose. Its beauty is undeniable. Sweeping lakes, forested shores, and reflections that look painted on. But its location also creates practical isolation. For anyone searching most isolated towns in the UK outside Scotland, Enniskillen consistently appears. Distances to Belfast and Derry are significant, public transport options are limited, and winding rural roads dominate the area. This isn't somewhere you pass through by accident. You go to Enniskillen because you mean to, and once you arrive, the pace of life slows in the best possible way. Its watery landscape, miles of countryside, and long distances from major hubs all contribute to a quiet, serene sense of separation. 7. Holsworthy, Devon, England. Holsworthy is a place where you quickly realise how rare it is in England to feel genuinely remote. Most English towns benefit from motorways, quick rail links, or clusters of nearby cities. Holsworthy? Not so much. Nestled in North Devon, it sits far from major roads and lacks a train station, which means the nearest railway journey starts miles away. Reaching Exeter or Plymouth requires patience and plenty of time on rural roads. In guides featuring remote towns in England, Holsworthy often ranks high because of its physical distance from major services. The town is surrounded by farmland, forests, and long country lanes that seem to stretch forever. You won't find crowds, commotion, or the fast rhythm of urban life here. Instead, Holsworthy offers a quiet, rural stillness that many people love, even if getting there feels like a small adventure. 6. Thurso, Highland, Scotland. The moment you reach Thurso, you know you've reached the edge of Britain. As one of the northernmost towns on mainland UK, Thurso sits proud on the rugged coastline of Caithness, looking out toward the wild North Atlantic. To reach this town, you drive for hours through rolling hills, windswept moorland, and sweeping coastal routes. There are no shortcuts, no large cities nearby, just pure highland landscape. Thurso appears regularly in searches for most isolated towns in Scotland and remote UK coastal towns because of its distance from Inverness, the nearest major urban centre, and the sheer length of travel required. Despite this, the town thrives with a small community, sea views, and a peaceful atmosphere. But make no mistake, Thurso is far, remote, and beautifully wild. 5. Ullapool, Highland, Scotland. Ullapool sits on Scotland's west coast, surrounded by mountains and endless stretches of wilderness. It feels like a painting. White cottages, a deep water harbour, shimmering lochs, and dramatic highland hills rising in the background. Yet this beauty comes with a level of isolation only the Highlands can deliver. Those looking for remote UK towns often highlight Ullapool because there's only one main road in and out. And what a road it is! Long, scenic, and winding through some of the most untouched landscapes in the country. Ullapool is also the ferry gateway to the Outer Hebrides, which adds another layer of remoteness. Though small, the town feels like an essential landmark at the edge of the mainland before the islands begin. 4. Tobermory, Isle of Mull, Scotland. Tobermory is one of Scotland's most colourful towns, literally. Its harbour is lined with bright buildings that have become a postcard image for the Isle of Mull. But reaching Tobermory takes time and determination. First, you travel through remote Scottish countryside. Then you board a ferry to Mull. And once you arrive, you follow single-track roads stretching across miles of island terrain. Because of this, Tobermory appears frequently in lists of isolated UK island towns. Its charm is undeniable. Peaceful streets, local shops, and a quiet harbour. But its isolation is equally real. Travel times depend on ferries, and weather can slow things further. That mix of beauty and remoteness makes Tobermory one of the UK's most intriguing island towns. 3. Portree, Isle of Skye, Scotland. Skye may be accessible by bridge, but Portree, the island's main town, is still a long journey from the mainland's main cities. The roads across Skye are scenic yet slow, cutting through dramatic landscapes, sea cliffs, and rugged mountains. It's a place where nature dominates the horizon and distances feel vast. Portree consistently shows up in guides for the most isolated towns in the UK because once you cross the bridge, you still have a long drive ahead. There are no major transport routes, no rail lines, and no quick way in or out. The wild scenery adds to the sense that you're far from the rest of the world, a feeling many visitors adore. 2. Stornoway, Isle of Lewis, Outer Hebrides, Scotland. Stornoway stands proudly as one of the most remote towns in all of Britain. Located in the Outer Hebrides, it requires either a long ferry journey from Ullapool or a flight from mainland Scotland. These connections depend heavily on weather, sea conditions, and transport schedules, making Stornoway feel wonderfully detached. People searching for remote UK towns or hidden UK towns almost always encounter Stornoway. Its island culture, history, Gaelic heritage, and windswept landscapes make it unlike anywhere else. Life moves at a different pace here, shaped by traditions and community ties. Despite being the largest town in the Hebrides, Stornoway remains incredibly remote, and that is its charm. 1. Kirkwall, Orkney, Scotland. Sitting deep within the Orkney archipelago, Kirkwall is the definition of isolation. It's far from the UK mainland, reachable only by a long ferry crossing or a flight from the north of Scotland. Surrounded by sea, shaped by ancient history, and exposed to the full force of northern weather, Kirkwall stands as the most isolated town in the UK. Searches for most isolated towns in the UK almost always place Kirkwall at number 1. Its location, travel difficulty, northern latitude and archipelago setting make it the most physically separated town in the country. Yet for those who make the journey, Kirkwall offers a peaceful, welcoming community steeped in heritage and quiet beauty. These 10 most isolated towns in the UK prove that true remoteness still exists across the country, from border towns to distant islands. Whether you're drawn to dramatic scenery or simply curious about life far from the rush, these remote UK towns show that distance can be its own kind of magic. Thank you for watching this video. Please subscribe and don't forget to turn on the notification bell.